a subject who was, I guess, in her control group, who did not have a structured, so you gotta structure your life. Schools are just a really good example. Like if you got a child, you have like a scheduled nap time, you have a scheduled bedtime, you have a time of day that's like playing inside, and then you have cleanup time, and then you have maybe a time that you go outside. And at a school you have all your subjects. You have 2 hours a day, 2 hours on this subject, or maybe 4 hours twice a week on this subject. Me as a transient person, I tend to focus on, it works better for me if I don't have to shift so much. So I'll just focus on something for like all day, and then I'll have like one routine, like going for a run, and then trying other things like a concrete workout routine and a meditation practice that I log after. And so that only takes up an hour and a half of my day. And then I have the rest of the day I can focus on one thing, and maybe I focus on one thing each day of the week, and it's just impossible, for me. But you need some kind of structure. You need to, if you want to set goals and achieve all those goals, then I call it a radical school. You have to put together the foundation of a school's processes and reflect on them regularly. You have to have a reviewing process in which maybe Friday night you say, okay, these were the goals I set, and did I achieve the goals? And then you ask yourself, okay, why didn't I achieve the goals if I'm not achieving them, which is commonly the case? And then alter things, try something different. Say, what can I do to achieve that? Okay. Another possible reason millennials are adversely affected could be the increasing awareness and conversation around mental health struggles that's dominant in media and other communication aimed at this age group. Even though little or no effective and sustainable tools or techniques are presented to address the root causes. Though scaremongering may get good ratings, it can leave many people feeling hopeless and alone. Indeed, few millennials have been taught how to deal with making stress work for them, how to manage their mental health, or basic mind management skills. Our society emphasizes physical self-care, such as diet, exercise, and sleep, which are important but not the whole picture, to the exclusion of mind management. And when it comes to our happiness, we have pills for that, right? She got sarcastic. Okay. There was something. Okay, whenever it keeps crashing out and you're making impulsive decisions, and that's like all you can do because you don't have a structured approach to achieving your goals. When we get to this state, we tend to overact. You're miscommunicating between parts. Your emotional self is overpowering, and you disagree with some of the decisions you're making, and that's why it's a mess of a mind. And manage it. How? So when we get to this state, we tend to overact, overgeneralize, and even catastrophize situations. We can easily get into the kind of thinking patterns this is somebody who really cares. We can easily get into the kind of thinking patterns that over-exaggerate yesterday's issues while overemphasizing tomorrow's and undervaluing the significance of what happens today and how we can change things. The poor brain, which does the bidding of the mind, has all the wrong energy flow through the internal networks and memories, which are stored as energy vibrations and proteins on the branches of neurons cause them to experience earthquake-like shakes, staying in this pattern. It's just their vibes, not like physical shakes. Staying in this pattern means, unfortunately, that the earthquake can end up doing a lot of damage, which is what we observe happening with the subject in the clinical trial. However, with mind management and support, we can get out of this type of negative spiral, which is why all the subjects in the control group were given access to the neurocycle program when the study was over. Hold on, I read the wrong paragraph. Oh yeah, it's the next paragraph. So how does this help you? We need to understand that our thinking is real and has real effects on the brain. If we don't manage our mind, we can fall into the trap of living in another world where everything feels terrible and hopeless, and there's a sense of anxiety constantly hovering over us. That relationship, that work situation, that political situation, that traffic jam, those family members, it feels like they're all conspiring against us. It's that when it rains, it pours kind of thinking. We know that negative spirals go nowhere, and when we learn to manage our mind, we can start healing the brain and body. This kind of brain damage is reversible because the brain is neuroplastic. It can change. It always changes. And it's never too late to change. You can regenerate your brain. Okay. Now she gives 3 examples of, which you're not going to be able to follow in my auditory, of asymmetrical. You want these signals that your brain is sending, you want like right and left hemispheres to be symmetrical. And this is an example of a brain that has static. It's confused, and it's asymmetrical signals that are being sent around it. In this subject's okay, there's a So looking at the asymmetry, we see that there is a very low gamma peak. That's like deep, passionate learning and thinking, and feeling inspired regularly. Man, I wish I had more of that. It's like a really healing thing. Indicating that learning is not taking place and that the subject is suppressing their thoughts and not changing. In this control subject's brain, we observed a pattern of In this control subject's brain, we observed a pattern of high beta activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which increased over the course of the study. The DLPFC is an area that becomes... okay, I explained this to you. Yeah, and so now this, what I explained a moment ago about the miscommunication between the emotional library and the point of decision making, and the relationship to their DNA, and it's like, oh my God, what's happening? Like their whole being, and it's less responsive like that. And because their waves keep crashing out at the point of decision making, they're just freezing up basically. And it says this subject's telomere length, which shortened throughout the course of the study, tells us more about the story playing out in the subject's body. They were getting increasingly unhealthy and putting themselves at a higher risk for illness. The subject was battling with underlying anguish that negating feeling that something is wrong. This was affecting their deep non-REM sleep, which in turn was adding to their anxiety. From the data we observed, these sleep issues also affected their DNA, which were the telomeres were shorter than they should have been, suggesting that their biological age was significantly older than their chronological age. When we go into deep regenerative sleep, we see a lot of delta waves in the brain, and at certain frequency points when sleeping, the enzyme telomeres and growth hormone are released, which work with the telomeres to keep our cells healthy. This is an extremely important process because we make around 810,000 cells every second and need strong, healthy telomere activity to do this. The growth hormone, among many other things, helps with neuroplasticity. Delta waves should reduce during the day, but in this subject remained very high, indicating undealt with and suppressed thoughts, leading to feelings of hovering anxiety. I wish that I was at that point, but I clearly missed it. Oh, here, that's because it's in fine print. Okay, telomere length in the control subject at 3 points of the study. This shows a change in telomere length from 84% at the beginning of the study to 79% by day 63. Typically, telomere length of your DNA changes over years rather than weeks, suggesting that this control subject's lack of mind management strategy may actually be shortening their life at an alarming rate. But really, it shows that it can fluctuate really a lot. And she talks about the placebo effect, right? You think something, and so it happens, and that's shown a lot in her research. And then there's a nocebo effect, which is actually problematic. You kind of want a placebo effect because that means that you can look at these birds. Dirty bird bath in Allentown. Okay, yeah, yep. Okay, so then there's a nocebo effect too, and that just means that you're not responsive. Like, placebo is awesome. You just have to have mind management is her whole philosophy.